All right, guys, Sam back with you here on Monday, October 29th. We're kind of early afternoon, and next up is a look by request from our members. I'm looking at Litecoin to Bitcoin. Now, I've got it up here on Binance. Yeah, you're right. So, there was possibly some bullish news for Litecoin and for Bitcoin, actually, with the Lightning Network, and not getting the response we would have hoped for here. Now, so one thing I would show you if I'm evaluating, if I'm looking at Litecoin and thinking of trading it to Bitcoin, and I just want to know where to trade it, is I would just reference you back here to this site that I've been using. Now, as many of you know, I used to use CoinGecko, but I just much prefer CoinCheck up here. So if you don't have this bookmark, this is really worthwhile. It's really a strong site here. So I bring up Litecoin, and this is giving me the overview here. So each of these tabs will give you more data. It's really quite well done. Well, so here's our price chart, right? Just it's not much of a reason to buy it here. So, but the reason I bring you over here, so we can go to news. Is there any news here that's related to Litecoin? Pardon me. Now, the Litecoin project has not put out a tweet in some time here, but we can get some update here. And there's I won't go through all of this here for you, but there's certainly some valuable resources here. If I want to see where the volume is, I'm going to go to markets. Now, take note here, this will default to the US dollar. So since I want to see it compared to Bitcoin, I want to see where the Bitcoin volume is. So I will change this to Bitcoin. Now I'm going to look down here and say I'm going to sort this on volume and say, all right, well, where are we trading? Where's the volume here? So if I look, looking for places where a US customer could trade it here. So here's Binance down here is the Coinbase to the dollar, but we're looking for trades to Bitcoin. So buy hit. I don't have accounts here, and most of you likely don't either. Hit BTC. I do have an account there, but that's to the dollar tether. So I'm looking for it relative to Bitcoin. Binance is the first thing I see. So since I can trade it on Binance, I come over here to Binance and look at this and go, well, I don't see much reason to buy it, so maybe this is for members that are looking for shorts. Here's zero down here. We're breaking now. We're testing this low here. Looks like we're about to test it. So not much for a bull to lean into there. Now we'll break this down. I'm on an 8-hour here just to give it some perspective. First step let's see if we can get past the Vegas wave. The 233 caught it just perfectly there. So, but let's go down. Well, let's go to a 3-hour, see what that looks like here. So this likely some sort of corrective. There's ABC, and then we just carry on coming down. So, let's zoom in a little more here. Is there a count there? Well, we could probably work one up, but is it helping us much? Here's just trying to keep it simple. We could certainly do this and say, well, look at we got some wicks through it here, but we've got potential for a double bottom down here, certainly. Right? It's been tested once, and we got a little reaction from it. It's just kind of sloppy, and it's spiky as well. So, again, could you get a count on this? Yeah, but really not one I'd be terribly confident in. This looks like the impulse or finishing of something. So, again, when you're stretching, or as I would like to tell you, when Elliott Wave is most beneficial is when it's so obvious you can't miss it here. Here, it's an educated guess. So what's our alternative? Well, we've been working with our range methodology when you have something like this. So do we have a range? Well, I see a couple things. So let's see what I have here. I've got wolf range here. So if I start here, I'm looking for where the range of the market is. What are we responding to? Well, if I come down, just the first little pivot here that I get, it's nothing great here. I keep going here, and I get here, and I've got a reaction here. I did notice this. So if you're looking for pivots to use, right? So this is decent. I'm getting a reaction here at the 50. So if I keep going down here to the 50 and get right on it, right? Well, now you can see what I end up with here. So there's two ways you might have approached that. So clearly that's the range of the market. So here's my pivot. What's interesting is that if I didn't have any of this data and I was just working on the prior swing, because when we're at this pivot, I don't have any data. So I can only work with the last swing, right? Which happens to be a double bottom here, which note catches that. This one catches it to the tick, right? So I've got good range on the market here, right? So here's my initial swing. Here's the pivot that's critical. All right, here's the 100% of that range. And note we're getting that as we double bottom here and we get a little reaction. All right, so do you have something to work with there? Well, you know, it's a point of interest. How about that, right? So is that the low? Well, we're not ready to call the low, but that's certainly a point of interest. So the double bottom down here, maybe we got something here. So we could do some channeling as well here. So if I just the same thing, just looking for, is anything that I can look for that might be a tell? Well, this was, I'd probably go down here. Looks like I had channel here. Now, what's interesting here is that when we break outside of the channel here, even though we're not doing it with any velocity, it's not uncommon to come back and test the edge of that channel. So one thing, just as I've shown in the other videos, I could do here is just take that, let's clone it, let's push it out by 50% and see how we look here. Get it right. Want to be right on that angle. Get it right on there. There we go. Okay. So do you see all I've done here is just like we're doing with the wolf range, right? We're just expanding it by 50%. So I'm just going over by 50%. Now, so look what we get. We get some nice confluence down here. So we're hitting the center line of that channel as we hit the 100% from the initial range. So potentially you got something there here. Now we're gonna need to see something more than just that little bounce here. So for something to get started, we're gonna need a push, a retrace, and then maybe a series like this where we're getting a series of higher lows and higher highs, right? That's what defines our trend and defines our impulsive structure or our motive wave structure. We don't have that yet. So, right, we're going to have a whole lot of resistance to get through on the way up. So the other, this, if we move it right on top, right? So these are going to be interesting points to, can we get through this? So note here, we've got just right off the bat, we can see this. So here's the 233, which has been holding it on the longer time frame here. If we're going to bounce up, we got to get through that. And then of course, we'd be looking to get through, if we go swing low, pardon me, so if I take this and bring it all the way down here as the new range, well, of course, the 50 is going to be some resistance to get through. So, right, not really much to do there for a bull. I mean, again, as I like, we'll often tell you, if you're jonesing for a trade and you like the idea of Litecoin down here at these levels, you could be a buyer here. It's kind of, I wouldn't put a whole lot into that, but you'd be buying off of the idea that we had a double bottom here. We did have some technical confluence. You could be a buyer here with a stop under the pivot. Nothing wrong with it. I'd be realistic about what the upside looks like. So the first 50 would be a point of interest. Can we get that kind of move, right? There's nothing, just do the little risk reward on it. So we're looking here, if you're buying it right here, we got a little green candle. And we're targeting the 50, and we're going underneath this pivot here. Well, there's 4.4 to 1. Nothing wrong with that. Perfectly valid trade. Even I'm not quite to the 50. If I get up to the 50, we got almost, it's 4.5 to 1. So it's certainly a reasonable trade. Right? You have some technical confluence down here. We have a double bottom. It's a contender. Right? This is not, so again, I wouldn't put big money into that, but there's a trade there. Certainly, we got a trade. Now we don't have any pivot. We can't even draw a trend line, right? So we'd just be working off of the technical reaction down here. Don't have anything to work with to even draw a trend line. So if I could get some sort of a reaction up here, maybe we get to the channel, retest, then we go something like that, right? Well, then at least we'd have something to work with here. At least we'd have a higher low, all right, and a higher high. That might be the start of something. This is not necessarily saying this is where you bail, but I'd at the very least be looking at a partial profit here, and I'd be tightening up stops. So you do have a contender for a trade here. All right. The other thought is wait for this reaction. Look for some sort of a technical pivot up here. The upper side of that channel is a reasonable spot. Then wait for the first retrace. You can essentially set up the same trade here with that kind of entry. Now, that, of course, I'm assuming we're going to retrace that far and that this is the pivot. This is purely hypothetical. But if you wanted to wait and see what kind of reaction you got, first bounce would be a reasonable spot to be looking for an entry, and where you could set up that same risk reward of 4.5 to 1. So a couple of choices there. Again, there's not a lot in crypto to do right now. It's a lot of hurry up and wait, but there's little short-term swing trades that are in here. Right? This is a 3-hour chart, so that's nothing wrong with that trade. All right, guys, that's pretty much all I've got. It's just a lot of hurry up and wait in crypto, which is why we have diversified in terms of what we're teaching here into other asset classes, right? We all of the traders in here, we all trade more than just crypto, but so many people found us as they were studying technical analysis as it applied to crypto. But as we like to remind you, the underlying asset makes zero difference, zero. They all trade the same way. All right, guys, so keep that in mind. If you're just beating your head against the wall here in crypto, it's not a great time to be trading in crypto. Plenty of other choices. But if you want to stay, if you're a crypto purist and you want to stay only in crypto, well, there's at least a trade that's there for you. All right, guys, that's pretty much all I've got. So with that, I'll just remind you that you can always learn more about what we're doing. Come over to our website, of course. You can follow us on Twitter. We make a big effort to engage with our Twitter followers there. You can join our free public Discord. That link is underneath every video that we post here. I'm always amazed. I get people asking me, how do I get to that? All you got to do is look underneath the video. You'll find all of our links under it there. All right, guys, back to you tomorrow.